Hi, what's up? We're in the next part. Please go check out the previous... Ouch, I just pinched myself mistakenly. Please go check out, how do you pinch yourself mistakenly? You braze your nail against your skin and then it scoops some skin. And then you're like, ouch, that's how that happened. Anyway, whatever, irrelevant fact there. Please go check out the previous part to gauge your bearings. In the previous part, I was busy speaking about clout chasing men. I was speaking about unsupported women and how it is that when they don't have support in this very unfortunate 21st century that we are living in, they then get passed up by guys that, however, make an observation of the beauty that they have, and so imagine that they can plunder them, that they can loot something, but not take the whole package. They don't run with it. And I spoke in the previous part about how it is that the difference between these women being taken seriously by men and not is literally the support, the support structure that these women have around them. I gave a story about a woman back in the day who was disregarded entirely by a whole bunch of guys, even though she was of great value, great character. Everything of hers was in a bunch, and she was gorgeous, like in that woman, but she was perpetually, constantly, consecutively passed up by a whole bunch of guys in the spirit of, what is she gonna do for me? She has no clout. And the only time that a man made a decision to make an honest woman out of her and essentially make her irechte, imedi, okay? And I rolled my eyes at even the terminology rechte or medi or main chick because, just to settle for the fact that at least you're the one that he regards most loftily in comparison to all the other plethora of women that he is with. That's rubbish mindsetting. But just the decision, however, to make a decision to make out of her an honest woman, us regarding that in isolation, without really thinking about all the other issues with borechte and what have you, that came about because this woman gained support. She gained a support structure around her. And this support structure was not necessarily familial or blood, but it was water that made itself like blood. And so it mattered. And then I gave an example about my own life where it is that there was a dude that pulled a similar stunt on me, where it is that I had to drop out of university for reasons. I highlighted my mom did not pay my fees, and so I had to drop out, and I ended up working in corporate South Africa, a call center, a lowly job, and I was trying to build myself back up, pay off my fees, and take myself back to school, and then of course rebuild my career from that point. But this guy underestimated me prematurely due to him being already on a professional track. He was a BCom accounting honors level graduate working for KPMG, and he was going to be a big dude in the future. He was already flying with the big guns from a young age, and he looked at me as just this woman that was not clout sufficient for him, where it is that he had taken me on a first date that was, it was decent, it was sweet, it was romantic, and then the second date wasn't a date. He didn't even feed me, that bugger. He took me to his apartment, tried to pounce on me, essentially tried to have sex, and I told him I'm not doing this, and then he vocalized without even any shame that, well, I mean, if you're not prepared to do this, then what's the point? You might as well go home. And then he dropped me off at home. He took me back home. He picked me up only to take me back home. Yeah, type establishment thing. Yeah, and he did that because of the fact that I did not have any clout in his sight. And I spoke about how it is that if he had met me 3 years later, he was going to squeal, cry, moan, groan like he was in hellfire, because I would later ultimately acquire all the clout that he wanted 3 years prior. But by then I was already with somebody else. Okay. That's like just a brief recap of what I spoke in the previous part. I concluded by saying in that part that women have got a prerogative, therefore, in this 21st century to self-preserve, self-protect, observe these things, that when you are suffering, when you are going somewhere, you are en route somewhere, but in the run-up to, you're kind of scruffy. Like, it's what happens. You're kind of scruffy on your journey to getting somewhere. You are not fully what you can be. Like, I don't know how many times I yearn to put a really good outfit on, some mascara, and my hair be did, and me just go out there and just be, carry a really good handbag and walk with all that posture somewhere where I'm just going to be looked at as, wow, what a beautiful woman. Like, just even like wearing perfume, where I get feta, my scent just, linger, and people gauge that I've come and I've gone and understand that there's a sophisticated woman walking. I don't know how many times I long for that, but I don't have it. Currently, I'm scruffy. I'm wearing bad wigs. I am struggling to clear my skin from hyperpigmentation. I don't have reliable mascara. It's old, you know what I mean? Or even eyeliner. It might just break me out into conjunctivitis. I don't know. I don't even have the right clothing you know, the outfits that I would wear, my fashion, my sense of fashion has not flown out the window. It has not left me. I just don't have the resources to clothe my body the way that I used to anymore. Now I just put stuff on my body to ascertain that I'm not naked, that I'm not cold. But I don't I don't fashionably dress anymore the way that I used to. And I really long to do that again. I have a strong desire to do that again, but I am en route somewhere. Right now, I'm disheveled. I'm untidy, even with my exercise. Like, I would love to work out in an environment that has got far better lighting, and also where I am wearing really beautiful exercise apparel, like a whole tracksuit, yeah, Nike. I would love to do that because your workouts actually present a lot better when you are wearing certain clothes. When you are just frumpy, putting on whatever you can to cover your body, making sure that you're not naked, it messes even with the aesthetics of the whole product. So there are so many things that I wish I could do. Sneakers, I would love to wear multicolored sneakers as I work out, because they just work so much better to the eye. They're so catchy. They cause your eye to linger on footwork that you are doing as you are dancing a lot more. When your sneakers are catchy, it literally makes a massive difference to the aesthetic appeal of your dance video in entirety. But I only have one pair of sneakers, and it's what I work with. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are many things I wish I could do, but right now, en route getting there, I'm frumpy in my clothing. I am aesthetically not so appealing in my outward appearance. There's a couple of blemishes on my skin, you know, nothing that a dermatologist cannot correct once and for all. My wardrobe is not where it needs to be. I don't have makeup other than application makeup. I don't, like, I'm not where I need to be, plus my background, you know, where it is that I would love to work out is very different from where it is that I presently have no other choice but to work out in, where it is that I would love to record my videos. There are so many things that I don't have that I wish I could do. I am restricted, but this is a phase that I am in where I'm working on something and I'm en route getting somewhere. And once I get there, that space that I will find myself in will then award me with a certain aesthetic appeal and a certain clout and a certain what do you call, like, behind me there will be basically a stance of support. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And that lingering scent of perfume, of Chanel Allure perfume in the mall, will then get me more respected than I presently am every time I go to Clearwater Mall, for instance, to go to a bank, Standard Bank, or to go to Dis-Chem. I'm just this drab looking woman, like, just making sure that I cover my body with clothing. There was a time when I would never get out of the house without looking a certain way. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. Now, I just make sure that my body is covered, that I'm decent, that I'm modest. And I'm out here roaming around with frumpy browns, frumpy blacks, frumpy, you know, turquoises, like just these random weird colors, and then these wigs that I put on to conceal my hair underneath that does not present very well out there where with you know, when it's old, because my edges are not laid, all that jazz. Like, my hair is not on fleek, so I have to put a wig on, and these wigs are just tired and old and unsophisticated in the way that they look. They just make me look like, you know how black women can just slap a wig on, man, like, you know that it's a wig, you can tell that that's a wig. I'm like that. I just look like that at the mall, and that's why every time I go out, I just cross my fingers that I don't bump into anybody wearing some random jean with some random top and some random jacket and some random slip. I'm always wearing flip-flops, like, and some flip-flops. You know, back then I'd be probably in a kitten heel or something, and then there's like the jewelry that I would always be wearing, like back in the day, my hands, if I punched you, you would have some problems, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always had so many rings on my hands, and jewelry, like dangling neck pieces and what have you, dangling earrings and what have you. I always used to have so much jewelry that I would wear. I was big on chiffon scarves and perfume, a scent, and also scenting my whole body with certain kinds of lotions and what have you. But now all I smell like is just roll-on and spray deodorant. That's it, you know? My breath don't stank and my armpits don't stank, but I certainly do not give off a fragrance, a perfumed one at that. As a woman, I'm just basic now. I'm like a prototype. I'm just like a Barbie doll without clothes on. I'm just the basic, bare prototype. It can be fashioned, it can be adorned, it can be glorified, but it's still in a transitory phase. And right now, it's like cheek is maybe even stroked with a little bit of dirt on you know, on thereon, and so therefore it's not very seemly. You don't get looked at very much. You don't get gazed upon as somebody important and special. Nobody looks at you as anything that is worth a while. And certain kinds of men aren't even trying to look at you at the mall. Like certain men rocking their kick and bobozas and their fitted suits with their high collars that obviously have come to the mall briefly to go to the Woolies to get something real quick, to get some chicken real quick from a corporate job. Don't look at me anymore when I'm out there in the wilderness. Why? Because I don't look like the kind of woman that also comes from where they come from. Because like I said, frumpy jeans. Because like I said, random browns, random blacks. And you are just smelling like Dove spray and Dove roll-on. That's all that you smell like. And you wearing, of course, this wig. Like, what dude chilling in corporate South Africa is out there trying to look at, hey, these typical black women and their funny wigs. Like, you just go and you throw a blonde wig that's obviously not seen the light of day. When you look left and right, it don't move. It's never ever, it's synthetic clearly, and you've never even put it underneath some Stay Soft. It doesn't move with the wind. But it's on your head. That's what I look like when I go out there, and it's just, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's yeah, so it's like, I'm grateful that I have yet to bump into anyone from the past with me looking like this. And then of course there's like my car that, hey, but there's just so many issues right now. I don't even have like a full tank of gas, blah blah, all that jazz. That's just the transitory woman who's really struggling. She's really suffering, and in that transitory phase, men are not dumb, and they're also sightly. They are visual. So if at all they're in your presence, they will gauge that you're pretty. They will gauge that you are beautiful. And so they will be prepared to squander something there, plunder something there, loot something there. They will be happy to sleep with you. They will be happy to flirt with you, maybe call you after first taking your number, only to get you to a point of bedding you. But they will not be trying to ukukipela ilobola. And it will not matter. You must understand how eloquent you are, how well spoken you are, how obviously with a bright future you appear to have, how much prospect or hope you have, how much potential you have. It doesn't matter. Like the dude, Wako KPMG, the one that I met when I was like just like 20, 21, and he was like 23, working as an intern at KPMG. This eloquent woman, this intelligent academic woman, was the one that was having conversations with him in the club, the one that was when he first met me, when I first met him, and also the same one that he had a conversation with during lunch, during work, and on the phone when I was at home, and he was also at home and whatnot. The one that he called up on some, yeah, this is the dude from last night type thing. Yeah, same woman, same chick, same woman that you are looking at now, just a lot younger, you know, a little less scorned type establishment thing. So he could have, given that he was a smart guy, speculated rightly that don't underestimate her, do not speak too soon, because just based on conversation, you're obviously birds of a feather, you're peas in a pod. She's well spoken and she knows her stuff, and she can relate with you in your field because she comes from school, she comes from Wits. You went to the same varsity, like, for crying out loud. This is somebody with whom you can actually really truly have some kind of relationship where you are mutually able to converse on similar topics. She's not going to embarrass you at dinners. If you bring her to an office party, she's not going to humiliate you in front of colleagues. Like, I hate skipping around from story to story, but I will actually give you one story. There was a colleague of ours at MTN. My boss had a potluck at her house, and at this potluck, she invited everybody with their partners, and I brought my boyfriend. This dude brought his girlfriend. My other colleague, she came by herself. She didn't bring a boyfriend or whatever. The young ones, you know, that were subordinates to them, and then of course the older men. The boss, her subordinates that were older, the program managers brought their wives and what have you. Yeah, so everybody was there with their partner except for the one girl type thing. And this dude brought some chick. Wow, like she had. Do you guys remember Popcorn? Like that hairstyle, that hairstyle, yeah, Popcorn. Where is it? They put a net on your head and then they like pop out the individual little pieces of hair out of it, and then it looks like popped popcorn. Like, it looks like popcorn. She had that popcorn hairstyle, and like, it was, even at that stage, it was ancient. Okay, like, it's like having frizz. Like, it wasn't the 90s, it was 2000 and like maybe 10 or 12, for crying out loud. Like, yeah, 10, 11. It was 2010-ish. Yeah, 2010-ish, 11. Who in the world is walking around with frizz? In 1997, Keith Sweat. Do you mind if I know? Come on. This chick had a popcorn hairstyle. And she was so ghetto. She was so ghetto. She was violently ghetto. She was loud. She was this petite little loud ghetto girl with a popcorn hairstyle, and her English was like super broken, and where like my boss was like a super snob, right? This woman, she was like a super snob. I mean, she was living, her house was in Houghton, for crying out loud. And this popcorn chick, Kingy, would intervene like in conversations between my boss, her subordinates that were program managers. She was a senior, she was a general, she was a sort of like a senior, yeah, she was a senior manager, and then her subordinates were program managers, and then there were us, the administrators, underneath, right? And yeah, so we are speaking very like established men in their career here with their wives. And then me with my boyfriend, and then you keep my point. And this chick would then, like, in the middle of conversations, laughter, talking about what we're all talking about, she would then speak, you know, and her English was like super broken, and she would say things that were so crazy inappropriate, like she was ghetto in like the worst way. And we just took it, and it was humiliating. It was not embarrassing, it was funny, but the next Monday my boss called him to the side, and she was like, his name was Tamba. She was like, Tamba, this is not to be mean-spirited or whatever, but you need to really reconsider your choice in women. She literally took him to the side and said, you need to reconsider your choice in women. I don't think she's the right one for you. I remember thinking, girl, mind your own business. Like, if he's in love, leave him alone. But he came back to us and was like, Ulontuza, let's say my boss's name was Tembi. She was like, Utembi ati mina nyotampa. Oh, let's say her name was Kineilwe. She's like, Utembi ati, I need to leave Kineilwe because I can't find it. And my other colleague and I, the girl who did not bring a partner, like, we cracked up, we laughed because we knew. We both knew that dude, like, she's onto something, but she's brave to have raised it though, like, but she's not your mom, she has no right. But at the same time, that dude Lena, he was always just all over these streets with different women, so she was like the flame of the moment, and he decided to take her to a work function. I gave you that whole entire story to help you understand that dude from KPMG would never have had to deal with that with me. If he had a potluck at his company and brought me around his colleagues, I was not going to embarrass him conversationally, because I would have been able to speak to the things that they can speak to, because I was seasonally disbanded from the same environment that guy, however, maintained in. He stayed in that environment. I got seasonally disbanded from it. I was also on a professional track. I was also an academic. I was also a commerce student at WITS. I was also, you get my point. There are so many things that were similar about us, so I would not have been unable to have a conversation with employees of KPMG, for crying out loud. Hebatung. But then this dude treated me like I was some ghetto chick wakokasiwa popcorn. You know when a person speaks too soon. That's how it is that I am currently being treated. I am being underestimated like no man's business, because of the fact that my present state, my transitory phase right now, if the rapture does not happen, is unseemly. I'm uncatered to. I am displaced. And because of the position that I find myself in, I am underestimated, and I am disregarded and passed up by a whole bunch of shallow clout chasing randos. But these shallow clout chasing randos are not blind. They're visual, and so they're able to gauge that I have salvageable parts. I am beautiful, so I could hit that. And when you are in that mode, in that position as a woman, you can't hope that somebody is going to rock up that's got better character than the rest. You're putting yourself in harm's way. You can't just keep giving every guy a chance, hoping that he's not gonna mess you up. Like the one that I gave a chance from KPMG, thankfully, when I said no thank you, just made a decision to drive me back home. But every so often, if you find yourself in the same room, given that this is South Africa, gender-based violence central, worst country to live in as a woman, you can't just keep going on these first dates. You can't just keep telling dudes, no, I'm not gonna have sex with you, because this time around, one is just gonna have you anyway. One is just gonna take you anyway. One, you can't just let them come in, gauging your situation, trying to hit it and quit it, because then they're just gonna go and grab what they want. Anyway, you're gonna find yourself in the position of Tsehofazo Pule, where it is that you are not the clout heavy woman. However, you are standing in the way of a man that is trying to chase clout. You dared fall pregnant, given that you slept with him at your own peril, and now you are hanging on a tree, 8 months pregnant, with both you and your baby dead, because some random buffoon made a decision to kill you over clout. To kill you over clout. Like, that's proper a whole gender-based violence story that happened in this country. It's a true story. I am not making it up. You can go Google it, research it if you are not from South Africa. Google woman hung on tree in South Africa, 8 months pregnant, and you will find the story of Tshegofatso Pule and Ntutuko Shoba, who is the baby daddy. Just because the baby's dead does not mean it doesn't exist. That kid is in heaven. That's what's good. Yeah. So that is the sad and very disquieting, unfortunate and uncomfortable reality of where we find ourselves in this 21st century. So I am here to try and warn women to protect themselves when they're still in a transitory phase. When you are, like my former friend, a 19-year-old struggling with bad family, no support, getting your first job at a retail store, stay single. Stay single until you have enough clout to be respected by men. Because I kid you not, I don't know what's I don't know what's going on in this 21st century, y'all. I don't know. But what is true is that they will wreak havoc in your life and try to loot you, plunder you, use you for scraps, like spare parts in a vehicle at a chop shop, and scatter you all over Johannesburg until you have such a high body count of men that you've slept with that you won't even be able to recognize yourself in the mirror. When you were a marriable woman, the kind that a man should have just like grabbed off the shelf real quick, and yet he passed you up because you lacked clout, and no support around a woman takes that clout away. It takes away, at least in the sight of these people, because really and truly, in a heavenly sense, your clout is Proverbs 31. Many women have done excellently, but she surpasses them all. Heavenly clout is not calculated by the standards of this world. That's what you need to be gunning for. And thankfully, godly men recognize heavenly clout. And so, wait on the Lord for that. The level of shallowness going on in these streets is going to get you hurt something bad. Recognize that the Lord can give you family when you don't have it. You do not have to rely on the betraying general disposition of a crazy batch of people. And that's what I'm trying to, at this point, get into. A lack of support takes away from a woman clout. Many things can take away from a woman clout. It's not like I didn't have support when I worked in the call center, but I worked in a call center. And that was the problem that this guy had with me. Sometimes your lack of clout comes with the fact that when you don't have anybody, some men look at you like, if other people in society don't value you, so why should I? If other people in society do not value you, so why under heaven should I? And now the devil knows, Satan knows how shallow human beings can think. And so he will sometimes grab a person, he will grab a woman, or a man, I guess. He will grab a person that God is trying to use and isolate them. The devil, like it's written in God's word in the book of Genesis about Adam, that God looked at him and said that it is not good for man to be alone. Therefore, he made a helper suitable. We know that loneliness is not a good thing. It's not something that is God's first prize. He sometimes does allow his servants to endure solitude for a season. But oftentimes, how it is even that solitude comes about in those people's lives often happens as a result of satanic isolation. Their solitude was induced by the devil, making sure that this person is driven out from his own people. Elijah was put in forced solitude by the fact that he had to flee Jezebel, who told him, "May the gods deal with me ever so severely if by this time tomorrow Elijah is not like one of them of which being the prophets of Baal, if Elijah is not dead." That is what under heaven it is that Jezebel's sentiment was. Jezebel was raised up in her wickedness, right, by Satan to push Elijah out into isolation. And when a person is isolated, what happens? They get underestimated by society around them. It's unfortunate. If you think about what Elijah did at in Mount, called the miracle at Mount Carmel. If you think about what he did, the people of God were told, if God be God, serve God. If Baal be God, serve Baal. And then he proved that God was God. And then the people of God went on right ahead to do what? Worship God as a result, right? They then killed the prophets of Baal. That's when Jezebel got super angry. And upon being angry, then drove Elijah out, threatened the people of God, threatened those who worship the one true God to a point of what? Them being scared to essentially stand with Elijah. So the whole modus operandi is to cause the underestimation of the gospel or of the words of life, is to cause the slowing down of the redemption experience, the revival. Like it is to block revival. It is to block people coming to Jesus. Their reaction was the right one kill the prophets of Baal, be restored to God worship. But then fear. Jezebel instilled fear in them until they were so scared that even Elijah, fleeing out of town, said, kill me, God, because look, she has killed every last one of your prophets. There's none of them left. And that's why God had to comfort him by saying there are 7,000 others that have not knelt to Baal. Because he was basically saying that these fluffy, flaccid, easily spurred by fear Israelites fell apart the moment Jezebel was like, may the gods deal with me ever so severely if by this time tomorrow Elijah's not dead. As soon as she started to threaten with a thunderous thunder clap, the people of God, they cowered from their original conviction. The devil's intention with isolating a Christian is to cause the underestimation of the message they speak, because it's human psychology. When you are not being looked at by tens of thousands of people, you will be underestimated as a talent. You will be underestimated as a voice. People will imagine there is no value to what it is that you are speaking because nobody is listening. It's just the way that human psychology is. You watch certain videos on YouTube because of how many views they have. You get drawn in curiosity to watching them precisely because they've got 35 million views. It's like this short that I once watched at my own peril, frankly, on YouTube of some chick. It was like a makeup, a makeup tutorial where she's got like, she's putting on like a lip liner on her chin. Do you understand? And the frontal photo of this short is just her in a puckered lip position with like drawing a line, a red line on her chin. That's what the thumbnail looks like. Do you understand? And it's literally chilling on a cool 35 million views. Just based on that 35M alone, I then went in there to see what's going on. What is she gonna do? I want to see what caused so many people to like this until it got 35 million views. And guys, I watched that short all the way to the end and I was so annoyed. This chick was out here saying that it's a makeup hack, and she had puckered her lips and she was drawing on her chin, right? Like a red line, and then coloring it in with a pencil while her lips were puckered up. And then she took a glass and put it in on her lip to mix the makeup in, and at the point of the glass, I'm thinking she's going to release her pucker. Like she had pouted her she had puckered her lips. I was expecting her to release the lips so that we could see the full view. If at all, she got these big lips, these full lips, because she drew them even on her chin, and the video ended before she could even unpucker her lips. We just saw this glass on her face and it ended. And I remember just looking at these 1 million likes, and I was like, why did you like this? Because it has such an anti-climax. I felt mad at myself. I could have punched myself for clicking on that short, because I try to go out of my way to not just get taken away by the tsunami of social media. You will die in these streets. You will die just watching random stuff on a loop, right? You will literally pass away just scrolling from short to short. So I try to avoid it, but I was lured in human psychology by seeing that 35M. When I saw that 35M, I went in and I got disappointed. That's human psychology. So can you imagine just what happens in the opposite direction? I contributed to that 3.5 million views. I am more the problem than I am the solution. I added to that chick's random numbers, okay, by simply watching it, but I did not like. So I didn't proliferate it in the algorithm, but nonetheless, I helped her get views. On that short, the very opposite is also true, where it is that if you have got a video that has got 0 views, less and less likely are you to click on it. When something is chilling on 5 views, 10 views after 15 days of being uploaded, you are highly unlikely going to click on it. It's human psychology. And it's been like that pretty much since the beginning of time, even in the days of Elijah. So the devil has consistently just isolated Christians, isolated the children of God, in order that they might be more persecuted, more ostracized, more beleaguered, more underestimated than they already were. The more you don't look at them, the more they appear to not be coming from anything. But you see, it's written in God's word that the road is narrow that leads to life, that few people find it. So if you're wise, you will listen to a person that has only few views insofar as the subject matter or the topic is drawing to you, and then make a conclusion as to whether or not they're worth the while to listen to by basically just listening from point A to point Z and then testing the spirits they're in. Do not make a decision to listen to somebody purely because of how many views do not make a decision to linger on a person in imagining them a quality view just because they've got so many views. test the spirits, gauge it by the word of God. Understand, use doctrine to figure out if at all you should be listening to certain YouTube channels. I had to develop a discipline in myself because I recognize that this psychology dwells in us very naturally. We easily gravitate towards it. It's our baseline default setting. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I had to train myself to not disregard certain Christian content purely because of how low the views are. And it's taken time, you know, for me to ultimately cultivate the art of clicking on a video because I'm interested in the topic and then gauging whether or not this thing is worth my while to listen to once I'm in the video and I'm using the word of God to verify if this makes sense at all. And guys, ever since making the decision to click on videos, even when their views are very small, I have gained such gems. Such gems. Do you understand what I'm saying? In certain parts of YouTube, where it is that I'm like, my goodness, this person is underestimated, right? And the only reason why I retrained myself that way was because of my own struggle. My own struggle. I am unviewed because I'm unviewed. I am the person that you don't click on because she has no views after 5 days, after 3 days. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for the sake of having compassion on myself, I then have compassion on others like me on the internet. I go out of my way to try and view videos that nobody is looking at, that are Christian. And so I have subscribed to a lot of people that only have like 200 subscribers, 4 subscribers, 5 subscribers, contributing to their numbers that I might help them get seen. Because it's really hard for Elijah in the wilderness to feel like he's still relevant. The guy feels so low, he feels so out of it that he wants to die. We know that Elijah said in the wilderness, God, kill me because this woman is killing everybody and there's nobody like me left. And God said there are 7,000 others that have not knelt to Baal. It is the devil's strategy to isolate. So once you know that it's Satan's strategy to isolate, recognize therefore that if he wants to isolate you, he must therefore also be trying to bring some pretty nasty eyes on you. Not only will everybody ignore you, but you will also be getting looked at by some of the worst people on the earth. You will be getting looked at by exploiters. They will be there to loot. They will be there to plunder. They will be there to strategize at like basically snatching your breasts and your nether regions. Everything that they can take from you as a beautiful woman, they will take it. See yourself for what you are. Look in the mirror and recognize what do you have going for yourself. However, also recognize the transitory phase that you are in. You are en route somewhere, and in the run up to getting to where you need to get, you're disheveled. You are wearing Dove and Dove roll-on and spray deodorant, but not Chanel perfume. You don't have makeup on your face. You are wearing a tired wig that don't move with the wind. You are rocking bogat, not even a jean. It's like a bogat. The way that it's just so blah. It's so drat when you put it on. Get bogat if when you go to the store. You are wearing ditlepetlepe when you would never under heaven allow your shoddy unmanicured toes to be seen anywhere near broad daylight sometime in the past. But now you out here going out there with like chapped nail polish looking like partly cloudy like clouds on your feet, and you are walking into Disque Munjalo, and some of your toenails out to be looking like ghettos because they're so long and you haven't chopped them in a minute, and you are you could get seen by someone from the past in that flip-flop with that partly cloudy nail polish on your toes without a proper manicure and smelling like Dove with a bad wig and some chubaba over here because your skin is not actually being taken care of. You've got like you know, acne blemishes and some like whatever skipper, some random top. You are generally a fashionista. You love to put together a nice outfit, but like you ain't got no resources. You're en route somewhere. You could totally look really wonderful one day when your life is restored again. But like right now, you're en route somewhere, you're being tested. A crucible for silver, the furnace for gold. But the Lord tests the heart. And so because you're being tested, you endure through a whole bunch of demonic attack. And you also got like dark circles under your eyes because you are exhausted from spiritual war. Alright? You are not sleeping sufficiently. You are stressing. And so these things are showing in your face and what have you. And then when you go out there, you be out there looking tired like no man's business. And there are people who, even in that fatigue, will see that there is a beautiful woman in there and literally try to loot you, however, like try to plunder something from you. Unprepared, however, to make an honest woman out of you, because why would I want to go mina and marry a woman with Dove spray deodorant only and no Chanel perfume? Why would I want to go and marry a woman with partly cloudy toenails out here in these streets, not manicuring them? Why would I want to go and marry a woman with a wig that don't even move with the wind? Why would I want to marry a woman with chubaba? Why would I want to marry a woman bogat, never mind a jean? Why would I want to marry a woman that's just rocking some top and kiba and like proper, like she's not naked in public society, but she's also not dressed, if you know what I mean? She is not who she used to be. And she's going through a lot. So, but she's pretty still. I can see that on our Santinyana, there's shape, you know? Hourglass. I can see that it's still there. So I'm gonna go and hit that. Properly, when you are still suffering, women, you have got to recognize that that is an isolation strategy, sometimes by the devil, to get you squandered. Squandered, do you understand? Slathered in these streets, made thin like butter on bread by men just trying to eat whatever they can. People who will throw you to sharks because you're angry somewhere, but you're beautiful and your character is intact. Recognize the shallow world that you live in. And also recognize that there are 7,000 others that have not knelt to Baal, just like you. There are 7,000 others that are just like you. And like Elijah, get up and eat, for your journey is still too great. You have got somewhere to be. You're going to ultimately go to the widow of Zarephath. You're going to do what you need to do. But before you get to that final destination, in the run-up to, you're going to be looking lackluster. You're going to be looking kind of shoddy, disheveled, wearing a jacket whose one arm is like down to your shoulders because it's too big, it's oversized, or it's too tight, because you've gained weight. You are going to be going through a transitory phase where you are not at your best self. Not at your best self. But there will be enough recognizable of you that is beautiful, that is glorious, that somebody will always be happy to plunder. Yours is to make sure that that doesn't happen. You gotta make sure that you don't end up like my friend, who allowed herself to be lain on by so many men who squandered a perfectly viable, marriable woman. And it was only once she gained support again, when she was ultimately elevated by people in her life. So God's word got fulfilled. It's not good for men to be alone. So if God gives them helper suitables, only then is a man going to be like, oh my goodness, will you marry me? But it is at that point then that you have to wear wisdom and not allow just anybody to marry you. Not a dude that's going to make you a rechte. You need a man that's going to be godly, that's going to say, this at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. But in the run-up to, we are living in a society that is extremely exploitative. You can't allow yourself to be just placed in the company of certain filthy people that you will then tell, no, I don't want to have sex. Yeah, some dudes might take you back home after saying you don't want to have sex, but others might just have it anyway. So you can't put yourself in harm's way. What I'm trying to explain is that when you are still en route somewhere, just stay single. Like proper, just stay single. Stay single. Unless somehow miraculously by a thunderous shake in the sky, the Lord shows you that there is a man coming that is going to love you in spite of your sorrow. I don't even know what that would look like. That showy, ornate show of evidence that this here is a safe place to be, but I am yet to receive one. So I am presently very untrusting. That's why I'm working, hunkering down to basically get myself to a place where I can safely rise now, because I'm not going to be undermined. But at the same time, y'all need to have the discretion to understand that sometimes men will try to pursue you precisely because you got out. You got out. But this bugger would have been out here in the bleachers watching you as a spectator suffer like no man's business, saying, nah, I'm not going to date somebody that's out here using roll-on and spray deodorant only without any perfume. Bugger will have ignored you the whole time. But then as soon as you gain your 5,000th subscriber on YouTube, then he's out here trying to DM you. Then he's like, no way under heaven. I've seen this woman from the very beginning. I've been with her since the beginning. I was with her when she was sitting on 500 subscribers. I was with her when she was sitting on 700 subscribers. I was with her when she was sitting on 1,200 subscribers. I was with her when she was sitting on 1,500 subscribers. And now that she's at 5,000, I can see that she's going to get to 10,000 and then 30. Then she's going to get to 100,000. I cannot have ignored her all that time and then have some other bugger marry a woman that I knew all along was really great. So they will come to you when you are obviously ramping up at a place where you are about to shoot up astronomically. That's when they will knock on your door. They will suddenly flood you. And it's not like it's because they found you because they recently found your ministry. No, they will come and holler at you because they've been here all along, have acknowledged you're great, but what am I going to do with a woman that only has 1,000 subscribers? What am I going to do with a woman so beleaguered, so persecuted? They will have imagined you a great girl, but then said random rubbish of this nature. Listen to this. What a pity she has no money. It sucks that Hana Moto. Why does she have to be so isolated? Exactly. The Lord is weeding them out. I personally believe that all the clout that I used to have, God had to drain it, because at the height of the glory of that clout, I was being afflicted by so many men ka korobela. And there was one in particular that I would have married if he proposed marriage to me. He was involved in sorcery. There's a guy that I did date that slept me ka korobela, that I dated because he lured me in with witchcraft. The relationship broke up. It's another story for another day. I've already explained it in the past. But that man, that dude, would never have looked at me in this situation. There's a guy, the dude that I used to think was my future husband. He passed me up because of the case that was being concocted, raised up against me at MTN. And he was like, A person that's being fired from her job. What am I going to do with a woman with those stats? I had been running around dilly-dallying in front of that dude, drawing circles on the floor, pretty much since I started working at MTN. Even though I was dating my ex, the two of us, me and that dude, were eyeing each other the whole time. I was at MTN for 5 years, the whole time. He started working at MTN around the same time as me. I started first, and then in December he started working. I started working at MTN in August, and he started working at in December of 2009. And from the time he started, we were eyeing each other the whole time, even though I was in a relationship, and he was likely in a couple of them as well. It's a high type thing. 5 years ago, fella, busy running circles around a girl, and she running circles around him. And after 5 years of sitting around in that company, I was sitting around in that company, and then one day in the rumor mill, it is heard that she's getting fired. She got suspended, even though the flirting and the fraternizing, if you want to call it that, was ramping up. We were talking more and more. We were clearly engaging in a way that evidenced that we could eventually end up together more and more. So we were not missing a zibani the way that we used to ziba each other in the beginning. This time around, we appeared like we were gonna start talking. We were talking. We were greeting. Every so often when we see each other, we'd hug. It got to that point. And when this dude heard that I'm busy getting fired, walasa, 5 years of kindred spiritedness, 5 years of flirting, 5 years of cold feet, of, like energy vibes, whatever it is that is this, the crushing. Yeah, 5 years yonke wayilahla. He just threw it away in a dustbin. What am I gonna do with a woman that's getting fired? So, I mean, do you see how, what would have happened to me, guys, if I did not have that bogus case raised against me at MTN? If I had kept my job, if I was maintained in that space, I would have out here dated a man that would have imagined me clout hefty, maybe even married him, only for me to end up married to a hard-knock prolific devil worshipper. Because he was involved in some hard-knock secret society. He was involved in Satanism that was more sophisticated than the regular man on the street who visits a sangoma. That's what that guy was involved in. And I was out here flirting with him. I don't think he was involved in it all the time that I was at MTN with him. Somewhere along the way, he decided that he's going to boost his stats along. So I would have ended up the wife of a devil worshipper. Is that basic? So seeing he was just one example. Yes, at MTN. He was just one little example at MTN, but there were other guys because they imagined, yo, Karabo, if I took her home to mom, this is what I would look like. I next to my boys, like if I were to bring her along my boys, they'd be like, yo boy, this time was sebenzile. This time around, yeah, no, my God, they would have praised me. See, zofuna umuntu wethu namhlanje, hamba kahle pretty girl, hamba kahle pretty girl namhlanje. They would have said that. Baya shada namhlanje, it's a wedding day, it's a wedding day, it's a wedding day, baya shada namhlanje. Yeah, I would have gotten married to the wrong dude. Somebody would have been happy to take me because I had all that clout. I was a woman and I was getting everything for myself. I was rising, going higher and higher and higher. And I was beautiful. I was essentially a trophy. A trophy. That's what you become when you are not truly valued in the life of a man, when you are just something different to ornately display on a room divider, like he played. You would have been just like he played Yaga Gogo that he Jewish us with on Christmas, but then leaves in the room divider the rest of the year. Yeah, instead of one that's just thrown away type setup thing. He would have shone you in front of everybody all the way up until you get married, and the next thing you were gonna find yourself in Jeffela singing Tamia song. There's a stranger in my house, took a while to figure out. There's no way you could be who you say. Essentially all the misery and frustration that these women are facing today, that are giving me grief for basically triggering them. And I did a video where I said that if I'm triggering you, don't watch my content. Don't watch my content. I did a video where I was speaking about how it is I'm trying to reach Gen Zs, because millennials are so triggered by me that they can't keep a straight face where I'm concerned. So I'm gunning for Gen Zs because they have yet to make these mistakes. And I'm trying to help them, essentially I'm speaking about this chick that used to be my friend. She was a young woman at the time, just 19. And if I had gone to her then, she wouldn't have made the mistakes of allowing herself to be lain on by all those monsters that used her, coupled with the dude that did finally marry her, that was cheating on her like violently. If I had gone to her at 19, she would have kept her slate clean until the Lord brought her husband along. So I'm gunning for women that are like that, 19 still, before you get squandered, before you get wasted, before you get finished off. You go through a rough patch, university, you drop out because your mother didn't pay fees or whatever. And then next thing you find yourself working at call center nyana pushing a random strange 7,500 rand salary, and then some dude that you used to go to varsity with underestimates the living daylights out of you because you had to drop out of school. Stay single, otherwise this dude is going to ram into you in his apartment and drop you off at home, making you feel like the harlot of the century. Making you feel like the harlot of the century, and you will get squandered and wasted like washing by a whole bunch of these men, all the way up until you have such a high body count of men that you won't be able to recognize yourself in the face anymore. Seek the Lord's face, repent, give your life to the Lord, stop fornicating, and wait for a husband. And when you are in a transitory phase where you can't buy face care, where you can't buy perfume, where you can't buy proper clothes, and when you can't manicure and pedicure your hair, or when you can't pedicure, I said manicure earlier, with the toes it's a pedicure. If you can't pedicure your toenails yet, and if the only wigs that you can wear are the kinds that don't blow in the wind, honey, don't insist on getting in a relationship, because you are going to be exploited during that time. You are going to have some dudes try to pursue you first and foremost, or men that you would have been interested in not even look at you, because what am I going to do with a woman whose wig does not even blow in the wind? They will pass you up until you finally get to a certain point. Then they will start flooding towards you. The Lord took me out of MTN and therefore a career, and never restored one to me ever since then, to protect me from all of these clout chasing men. I am waiting. I don't know what's gonna happen, guys. Rapture or my restoration. But what's imperative to understand is that I've dodged bullets because of my godliness, because of waiting on the Lord for what it is that I've asked for in prayer. I have dodged hit it and quit it men. I've dodged the wrong kinds of guys, essentially guys that don't make sense. I don't know how many HIV positive men have felt like I am feasible for them. Men that have divorced 3, 4, 5 ex-wives. Men that even one ex-wife. Men with kids thrown all over these streets in South Africa. Men with bad rap sheets. Men who are divorced from their wives precisely because their wives were fed up with them. They were cheats. Men who have got such bad rap sheets, including the ones that passed me up because I had no money, like the dude Wako MTN. He keeps on every so often resurfacing and wreaking havoc in my life, guy, witchcraft again. Recognizing the mistake that he had made back then. But you see, the thing that will make a man feel like he's made a mistake concerning a woman that he imagined was not in his league would be being so frustrated by a bad wife, by a woman that, according to the scriptures, is a rottenness in his bones. That now all of a sudden the woman that had no money, that had no clout, that could not give you any respect among your boys will now start to look like a glorious queen. She will now start to look like a glorious queen. Bad women make bad men realize what good women they passed up. That's what I'm getting at. Bad women make bad men. They deserve each other. They're Bonnie and Clyde, right? But bad women make bad men realize just what good girls they passed up. And then they try, in their maintained badness, to come back into the life of the good girl. They come back, but by then, they're muddy. They're grubby. They've got all these stats. They've got, you get my point, like they've got baby mamas from here to Timbuktu. They've got diseases, some of them venereal diseases, HIV, all these things. They've got now because you're suffering. When you are still in poverty, squalor, when you're struggling, when you are disheveled, when you don't have a pedicure or a manicure, when your wig don't blow in the wind, when you're wearing bogat and not a jean, yeah, when you are wearing just some skip and just that lingering on your shoulders, that's when bad men married to bad women will be like, I'll buy you jean instead of a bogat. So you start to get looked at by those who passed you up, that realize you're good but you're still struggling. Or you get passed up by those who are yet to struggle and look at you like, what am I going to do with a person with a wig that does not blow in the wind? And they pass you up until you get to a point where you seem like you're rising up. So in this season, stay single, but then at the time when you start to get your life back together again, watch out for little monstrosities that will have seen you all this time, liked you, imagined you were a great girl, but because they were cloud chasing, imagined as well, he would have just passed you up, even though your character was great. Essentially, they would have given clout and oomph and impetus to things and material possessions, love of self, love of money, boastfulness, pride, all that jazz would have caused them to ignore character in favor of extenuating satisfiers. They would have ignored hygiene factors in favor of satisfiers. And now that you're getting your life back together again, you then are the boxum full package. The boxum full package that also now has clout. Uzweyenza ninja that ignored you, guys, when you had nothing. What are you going to do with that? Now that you are finally gaining clout. Now that you are finally gaining clout, what are you going to do with a guy that ignored you for 3 years? Osokola, not even prepared to help you out. Kakerinyan, chenchi. Not even prepared to see if he can't pull some strings for you to get out of that. A man that was not prepared to take a bet on you. A man that knew that you could never embarrass him in front of his colleagues because you would be able to hold a conversation together with men in his echelon. And yet, he will have disregarded you because you're living in a shack at the back of your mother's house. A man that would have known the fullness of girth that you have, but ignored it in the favor or the spirit of clout chasing. You gotta seek the Lord's face to protect you from even the guys that are gonna DM you precisely because, oh, she's sitting on 3,000 subscribers. Last time I checked, she had 1,500, and it all happened in 3 weeks. She's growing. Now he wants to appear as if though he's been here from the beginning. We started dating, the two of us. We became engaged when she only had 3,000 subscribers, and now conveniently Baga Arja be riding your boat. You've got 100,000 subscribers, and he looks like he's always been there from the beginning. When he hasn't. He has been there since the beginning, but he was out here literally speculating from a distance, making like Vanessa Williams when you're still sitting on 500 subscribers, struggling every single day, praying, fasting, like Musadi, Umushebile, Asotlech, a woman that he has true feelings for. He is watching her just suffer. He is watching her struggle. Do you understand? And only when it looks as if though, Lomuntu Ingati, she's going to hit 10,000 subscribers in the next 4 weeks, only then he contacts you. But he's been around since subscriber number 205 was him. He was subscriber number 205. He's been watching you this whole time. Every day he tunes in. If anything, he's got notifications to your videos on YouTube. When he can't sleep at night, he tunes into your channel. A person that is looking at you on some wiki that doesn't blow in the wind. But he's all up in your door knocking at 5,000 subscribers. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And right now I'm speaking about subscribers because that's my journey. But with you, it could be getting a job at all. It could be getting a promotion. It could be getting out from a retail store or from Pick and Pay where you're scanning groceries to finally working in the call center or finally working as an administrator for projects in a company. It could, you get my point. You grab me, you check. Or it could be you registering at a university after having been gone there for 2 years because you had to drop out. All of a sudden, Sega Figa Lomuntu acting like all along he's been looking for you. You need to seek the Lord's face to understand who are the people who have ignored you when they had seen you all this time. Men that imagine also that they can't help you because what is it in it for them? They refuse to help you along when you are struggling behind the scenes, precisely because they have a crush on you. And so what is it in it for me? I don't want to have to invest in a woman that some other dude is going to take up in the future. I want to see how this is going to fold out and unravel. And then they get jealous for you when you start to grow because they were there from the beginning, except they weren't really there. They were just hovering around, watching a woman suffer. Do you know who else did that? In the scriptures, the Pharisees, unregenerate men that claimed to be of God. They left that man on the side of the street for dead, drove right by him, and only the Good Samaritan rocked up, took him into his house, and dressed his wounds, and nursed him back to health. Pharisees drove right by him. They carriaged right by him. So people who are walking right by you when you are suffering, you need to ask the Lord to show you Ugutinga Boban. You need to be careful because they will have seen you all along. This entire time they will have been looking at you. This entire time they will have been looking at you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sonke Leskati, they will have been gawking longingly and lovingly into your space, following your case closely, selfishly withholding any assistance, and then all of a sudden want to come in and pounce. So when you self-protect, you get people just standing outside waiting to see how this is going to end without supporting you. But when you don't self-protect, those people would have come in and just salvaged you and just looted something, taken booty, taken blanda, nje, something yan. They would have tried to stroke your cheek, kiss you, make out with you. There was a dude, some Gen Z idiot, that slapped me with Korobela. And from what the Lord showed me, Korobela, he wasn't trying to marry me. He wanted to be my boyfriend and hit that and then move on. Because to him it was like, I was too much of a Hlongwane for him to marry. Coupled with the fact that Kisutlechil. But he thought I was so pretty that he was like, it would be nice to kiss that. On the internet because you think he can just do that with her. He slapped me with that kind of witchcraft. It was just so disgusting. It was so disgusting. I was so annoyed. How you doing? Just checking up on you. Shut up, you and your Korobela, and your attempt to go and humiliate the reputation of a woman more than 10 years older than you, or 10 years older than you, whatever. However much older than him. I think I was more than 10 years older than a guy. I think he was like 26 or something. 39, yeah. But he was trying to experiment Neskokwan. That's what's good. So if at all you allow them an opportunity to, squander you, to pilfer things, some pilfering thieves all up in your grill, but little things. Yeah, they will go in for the kill. But when you're stubborn like Karabo, when you are sticking to your guns, when you've got a guard a hard knock, titanium, a fortified fortress. When you are impregnable, when they can't get to you, that's when they stand aloof. And they watch from the bleachers like spectators as you suffer. But my oh my, the day you get even the smallest little hint, suggestion, do you understand, that you're gonna be restored. Now you are not only a combination of everything that they've seen as wonderful all along, but you also now come with clout. Now you also come with clout. Nyantela manje. If at all the Lord does not rapture the church tomorrow, and I get to, let's say, 3,500 subscribers, and I start to get watch hours, like people start to watch my videos, like maybe one video out here raking in 4,000 views, 5,000 views for a video, I am going to get so many DMs from people that were there all along, not new people, and they will pretend. Do you understand what I'm saying? That kona subscriber, they will act like they have just now today come into the picture. Nyaphupha madod. Ngicela niyazini ukuthi mina nyaphupha ke. Ningakhohlwa. Nyaphupha. Nginamaphupho. Nginama-visions, nama-dreams, you understand? I have a prophetic gifting. Angideceive mina. I don't get deceived. Kyalora. The Lord is going to expose you. Dai bari wa korobela wa Gen Z. Untshitswe before he could even write me an email. So I said by the time he came and dropped me an email, I had already determined to ignore him. I was already annoyed. The way nakiporile ka teng. Ke ntho a entseng. And then predictably, in 2 days, ke ang sendela email, how you doing? Just checking up. Uyangitelel, uyangithakatha makata lapho bozokhuluma nami. Phuma kimi, phumphela ungangibhaleli ever again. Don't write me ever again. Don't write me. Kyalora. Do you understand? I have a prophetic gifting, y'all. I get told by God when people bayanuga like him, and when you're sitting as a person, if you want, is so much like the same way that he helps me to make sure I get some pilfering thieves that would have been happy to have sex with a woman and dump her even though she was already so heartbroken. God, but now she's gaining clout, and so now he's prepared to go part her ways. Money. Now he's prepared to part ways with never mind an enablement along, a little bit of a word of comfort. Girl, how you doing, Shem? Wait, the situation in it sucks. Why in the world is the world doing this to you? Never mind, just a word of comfort. This time around, where before he was just standing back listening to me. Maybe every so often nodding. Mara telling himself, it does not blow in the wind. What am I going to do with a woman with a wig that don't blow in the wind, the way it's so old and so synthetic and has never even seen sunlight? I also want to stay soft. What am I going to do with a woman like that? Protect yourselves from these pilfering thieves. Protect yourselves from being looted, wasted, squandered, just emptied, pilfered. Protect yourselves as well from suddenly having someone that would have ignored you all this time rocking up in your space and loving you, and now in terms and trying to love you because they were a fair weather Randall, and umuntu fair weather is going to be maintained in fair weather. Akazoba reliable, and on top of that he doesn't deserve you. Uyajonja naye just like the devil, hopping on some other way, coming in via some other fence. Engayenzi sense. Pumpele, ditch and disgrace is that basic. And then when it comes to family, just like with that chickie from back in the day, where it is that my cousin helped her along, my mom helped her along, and then all of a sudden a dude made her an honest woman. That is like a warped and a worldly version of what God does eventually do. The Lord is the one that recognizes first and foremost that you've been made alone. And then once you have been made alone, he's the one that says, just as he said with Adam, it's not good for man to be alone. Therefore, I will make a helper suitable for him. So if your mother and father, if your biological family, I had such a horrible dream last night with my biological family members, upon them abandoning me, then I basically found myself getting killed because my family had abandoned me. That is just a lie from the pit of hell, because the scriptures are littered with examples of men and women who were abandoned by biological family members, by friends, and who the Lord restored on the other side. My most favorite example is Joseph. He is my literal favorite example in the scriptures. Restoration to clout through strangers, through those that are not your true blood family, but like they're as good as blood family, just like we became as good as blood family to that chick, to a point where somebody finally respected her. That's what's good. A man, even though, like I said, it's a worldly example, he wasn't the best of men, but he ultimately made an honest woman out of her. He respected her more than other guys did. Rechte is rubbish, but you get my point. The Lord gives family. It's written in God's word that when my mother and father forsake me, the Lord will be my help, my family. Do you understand? And even Jesus, when one time Mary was like, where's my son? And everybody was like, your mom's looking for you. And Jesus was like, who's my mom? My mother, my father, my brother, my sisters, etc. are those who worship my Father who is in heaven. The Lord is the one that gives family. The Lord is the one that restores to family. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it doesn't even have to be your biological family. It doesn't have to be your biological family. So when your parents treat you like trash and so you end up getting underestimated by some random next door neighbor boy who used to have a big fat crush on you when your dad was still doting over you, and now that you've got a Cinderella disposition, now that your dad has passed away, this dude is out here passing you shade, do not worry. It's his loss. If at all the person can disregard you entirely, and despite having observed your core character, Pumaguye, he's good riddance. It might hurt, but move on. He's good riddance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if you cannot keep a person adored because you have gauged their character and seen that this is a good find, a keep, your hygiene factors are intact. If you can abandon umuntu ngoba ulahlekelwe ngabantu, you are the one who is losing a person here, not the other way around. And time will ultimately be that vindicator. Time will be the one that ultimately rests that case. Do you understand what I'm saying? So during a transitory phase, the devil tends to isolate Christians. But then God is the one that says it's not good for my children to be alone. So he restores helper suitables to them. These helper suitables come in a myriad of fashions. Like I said, Joseph is my favorite example in the Bible of a man that was restored to family without family. He was restored to water family, even though his blood family abandoned him. He got a wife and had children, and his first child was called Manasseh. And he called his first child Manasseh. Why? Because the Lord has made me forget the pain of my father's household. His brethren, his brothers, his biological brothers only later on came and gave him respect. But by the time that his brothers later on came and gave him respect, Joseph already had so much clout in Egypt that he was regarded as the second to Pharaoh. He was second like no one else. He was second to no one but Pharaoh himself. Do you understand? That's how much clout the dude had. He had more clout even than Potiphar, whose wife persecuted him. So he did not need his dad and his brothers and his biological family to maintain love of him for him to gain all that respect. That's what I'm getting at. So don't worry when your biological family treats you like trash, or when people abandon you that you used to have before. God can restore to you other people that are going to be so elevating of you that now the world around you looks at you with honor and with respect. It happens all the time. Another story is Ruth. Ruth left with the people of Naomi. She went into her town, her city, her land, her country. She chose to follow Naomi even though she was essentially a total familyless, abandoned stranger to the Israelites, but they loved her, and she married Boaz and was given all that clout because Naomi chose to love her, and she was in the lineage of Jesus Christ. She would give birth to a child who would ultimately, his seed as it went on, bring forth the Messiah. But she came from Moab. She was a stranger to the Hebrews, but then she became a mother to the promise, just like Sarah. What in the world? Someone with no family. Somebody with another one, Esther. Esther, in the book of Esther, we know that Esther was an orphan, and then she was loved by Mordecai and put in Xerxes' household and gained all that clout. Little girl with no family, however, loved by someone, and that someone enabled her to find clout. The Lord restores. The Lord restores to family. Guys, he is the one that will give you what you need. There are many other stories in the scriptures that I could go into. I had actually found others in my mind before I came to do this video, but now they've eluded me because I've been speaking for all this time. They've eluded me. But like I said, my favorite story is Joseph. My favorite story is Joseph. Another one is Job. Job was abandoned by his wife and underestimated therefore by his friends. The same dude regained his clout, and the same wife gave him 3 beautiful daughters and 3 beautiful handsome sons afterwards. A regaining of clout because God restores support to a person. He restores it. But oftentimes the reason why the Lord even extracts that support out of a person's environment at all is precisely in order to weed out filth, dirt, that which would not have respected you, that which would not have appreciated just what you are, who you are, what it is that you come here packaged with. They would not have had any respect for it. They would not have regarded you if you did not have Leah Cloud. Do you understand what I'm saying? So therefore, do not cry when you don't have family, even though you used to have family. Me now, personally, I used to have love and respect from Abantu Bagit, and then they just abandoned me once I came to Christ. And I don't have friends anymore like I used to. And as a result, like no man's, but I am underestimated in the worst way. And in this time, I've maintained in singlehood as a result. I have, however, dated one guy during my cloutless season, and he was a cloutless man. He was an exploiter. He drained the situation, saw it for what it was, and he was such a big lesson that every other guy ends up bumpa because of him. that dude from America was like the first and last of anybody that I would be with in my sorrow and in my squalor. The last guy that I was with before the squalor and sorrow was when I was employed at MTN. Some dude that I dated for like 2 months. So the dude in America is the first guy that I dated in poverty. And I had already made a decision, mind you, when I entered into this poverty, when I was in it, that I'm not going to be with anybody until I get out of it, because I know how men can be. But then I chose to give that guy from the US a chance. And my flames. So essentially, he proved my theory right. That when you don't have anything, but you've got so much to offer, there are going to be so many rubbishes coming in, trying to claim that have got your glass slipper as Cinderella to put on your shoe, on your feet. So they will claim and claim high, and some of them, even in this claiming facade of theirs, will be so brazen as to make like the dude what Gen Z that wanted to jolla with me and essentially see what it's like to be Neskokwan. Like experimental buffoons. Do you understand what I'm saying? All up in your grill, Archer trying to mock you for your wig not blowing in the wind. Stay single unless the Lord, ornately with showers from heaven, shows you that this time you can trust this guy. When you are suffering, when you are still disheveled, try to stay single, like I said, unless the Lord shows you differently. It's not a blanket rule, but it largely does apply. Like largely. Try and stay single, even if your biological clock is ticking, because there is something going on there, guys. It's ibolile. If Ntutugo Shoba could kill Tsegofatso Pule over clout, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Do not let yourself be expandable by a mere mortal that does not regard your value. The Lord is the one that will say, it's not good for Karabo to be alone. It's not good for Lerato to be alone. It's not good for Temba, even men, alright? It is not good for a person to be alone. Therefore, he will make a helper suitable, and at that time, he will then enable you to gain support so you can regain clout. But before then, watch out for these thieves, these like scavengers, Danki-san. Watch out for these hyenas, because they will try to exploit the situation. And some of them will be so brazen as to tell you, what's the point, sister? What's the point of you sitting here in front of me in the couch if you don't want to kiss me? Drop you off at home. But why would you want to risk yourself being in the company of a man that just wants to have sex with you and then potentially drop you off at home when he could just make a decision to have you anyway? Because after all, since you're suffering, who in the world is going to believe you when you claim that you've been raped? Just avoid until it's clear, until the dust settles. Otherwise, Anizoba, right? This is South Africa. Good dangerous lana. Khafar, ngozi. Gender-based violence. Maybe if you were living in some other country, I'd have a different sentiment. But South African women, you cannot afford to be letting your guard down like this. You just can't. I hope you've been edified. I am signing out in the name of Jesus Christ, Cran K. Peace.